All right, we're going to finish 3.4 and finding possible roots. So the last examples we did from 3.4, they gave us a factor. These questions, they will not be giving you a factor. So now you have to determine what you have. And the question is, how are we going to do that? You have to follow these steps. Okay, you guys can write these down on this slide so you have it. First thing you have to do is put it in decreasing order, okay? Decreasing according to the degree. And what does that mean for most of us? That just means standard form. Okay, so you're writing it in standard form. Okay, and again, we should know what standard form is. That should be probably the easiest thing for us. All right, once I get into standard form, I have to kind of figure out what am I using to find my zeros. Okay, what are my possible roots? Instead of taking a whole bunch of different numbers and plugging them in from 0 to infinity, what you're going to do is you're going to use this formula, format, if you want to call it, where it gives you your possible roots. Now, how can I determine my possible roots? They're all going to be positive and negative, so you have to remember that. And what do we mean by last and first? We mean you are going to take the factors of the last term. Okay, please make sure you're writing this down. You are taking the factors of the last term, and you are also taking factors of the leading coefficient. Okay, taking the factors of the last term over the factors of the leading coefficient. Now that's going to give you your range, not really your range, but your possible roots. Okay, so instead of me guessing and say, okay, let me try 1, -1, 2, -2, 3, -3, sometimes one of those won't be a possible root because you have to find those factors. So what do you do next after you find those factors? Now, once you find those factors, this is bullet point here. To find all the roots, what do you have to do? Okay, test the possibilities that you get until you find a 0, meaning until you get a remainder that has 0. Okay, so that's when we're going to be using synthetic division. And you're going to continue until the quotient can be factored. Okay, until my quotient can be factored, or using the quadratic formula to find the remaining roots. So you can use the quadratic formula, but I highly recommend you guys, we've done factoring, factor it out. All right, I'm going to go ahead and do example number 4. I really need you guys to pay attention again. So the first thing I have to do is try and find those factors, okay? How am I finding those factors? I am going ahead and I'm taking the factor of my first one, of my last term. So it's going to be, keep in mind they're both positive and negative. And you're going to take factors, again, don't write it, I need you to pay attention, of 15 and factors of 8. So what are those factors? Again, they're positive and negative. And factors of 15, I'm going to have 1, 3, 5, and 15. And then factors of 8, because again, that's my leading coefficient. I'm going to have 1, 2, 4, and 8. Now, what am I going to do with these? These are my possible roots. Okay, these are my possible roots. Now, how do I determine which ones work? Before I start plugging stuff in, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to write them out. Okay, I'm going to write them out. What do I mean by writing them out? I'm going to go ahead and I have 1 over 3. I'm sorry, not 1 over 3. 1 over 1. So I'm going to first go ahead and take all of these and set them to a denominator of 1. I'm going to have 3 over 1. I'm going to have 5 over 1 and 15 over 1. Okay, those are possibilities. Now I'm going to go ahead and go to 2. Doing the exact same thing. 1 over 2, 3 over 2, 5 over 2, and 15 over 2. Moving on to my 4s. I'm going to take 1 over 4, 3 over 4, 5 over 4, and 15 over 4. And my last one, I'm going to use my 8s. 1 over 8, 3 over 8, 5 over 8, and 15 over 8. Keep in mind, all of these are positive, negative. These are all of my possible answers. Remember, they are possible answers. Do I have to write these over 1 up top? No, I don't. So I'm just going to go ahead and keep these as whole numbers. So I have 3, 1, 3, 5, and 15. And these are my possible answers. Now, how do I determine what works and what doesn't? I'm going to use my synthetic division. So this is when my trial and error comes first. So first thing you have to do is just write out what you have. I wrote out my factors. Now I'm going to do my trial and error. This is the part that some of you may not like because it takes a while to try and get that answer. So going ahead and using trial and error, trying to find what I have. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use 1 first. Okay, so I'm looking at my 1, seeing what I have. Oops, you can't really see that. Let me just trace it over. There we go. Okay, now synthetic division, I'm going to use what they gave me, which is 8, 50, 47, and negative 15. Okay, synthetic division, bring my 8 down. I'm going to end up with 8 times 1 is 8. Don't forget you're adding. I'm going to get 58. 58 again. I'm going to get 105. 105 is going to give me 90. Does this give me a remainder of 0? No. So 1 is not a possible answer. Moving on to the next one. Negative 1. I'm using the same coefficients. I have 8. I have 50. I have 47. I have negative 15. Same thing, bringing my 8 down. I'm going to get negative 8, which gives me 42. I'm going to get negative 42, which gives me 5. And then negative 5, which gives me negative 20. Does this give me a remainder of 0? No. So negative 1 is not a possible factor. Going on to the next one, I have 3. Trying a positive 3, I'm going to have 8, 50, 47, negative 15. Again, it's trial and error. Bring that 8 down. I'm going to get 24, 74. Just looking at it, I can see this is not 1 because it's going to give me a larger and larger number, and I'm not going to get a positive 15. So 3 is not a possible option. Let's go ahead and try negative 3. Again, this is the part that a lot of you guys are not going to like because you have to use trial and error with your possible roots. I'm going to get negative 24, which is going to give me 26. Negative 78, which is going to give me negative 21. And that's not going to work either. Again, trial and error. So far I tried 4 of them. They still don't work. But these are what I have. Going ahead with 5. All right, again, using the same leading coefficients, I had 8, 50, 47, negative 15. Trying these as well. Bring that 8 down. I'm going to have 40. This gives me 90. Oof, we're getting into some really big numbers, so I know this is not going to work. Okay, now I have to try negative 5. Again, trial and error. Yes, you have to do this. 47, negative 15. Okay, bringing that 8 down. It's going to give me negative 40, which I have 10. I'm going to have negative 50, which gives me negative 3. And then this gives me a positive 15, and I have a remainder of 0. So negative 5 is a possible factor. So I'm going to go ahead and circle that one. Okay, now what am I going to do next? I'm going to go ahead and take my quotient. Keep in mind we started with an x cubed, so that means I'm going to have x squared. And x Now I have to determine, can I factor this? Okay, just a reminder. We learned this before, maybe you forgot. I just want to say it again. How do I know how many answers I'm going to have? If you look at the exponent, the degree, the very first degree that we have, I should have 3 answers. I know one of my answers is going to be -5. Now I have to find the rest. What am I going to do next? Like I said, I'm going to take the quotient, okay? And now I need to determine, can I factor this? So this is my next step. Let's see, can I factor this? This is going to be my step 4. And I'm going to write it out. What do I have? I have 8x squared plus 10x minus 3. Now let's see, can I factor this? Set it equal to 0. How am I going to solve this? Multiply. What's 8 times -3? -24. What multiplies to give me -24 and adds to give me 10? 12 and -2. So I'm going to have x plus 12, x minus 2. Don't forget this step. A lot of people forget it. You have that 8 right here, so you have to slide and divide. Now looking at it, simplifying, I'm going to have 3 over 2. Slide this over. Simplifying this one, I'm going to have 1 over 4. Slide this over. And right now I have 2x plus 3. And I have 4x minus 1. Factoring this, what do I have to do? I have to set it equal to 0. 2x plus 3 equals 0. 4x minus 1 equals 0. And I'm solving for x. Subtracting 3 to both sides. I'm going to get 2x equals -3. Divide by 2. And x equals -3 over 2. That's another possible answer. That is another answer, actually. Plus 1. I'm going to get 4x equals 1. Divide by 4. And I'm going to get x equals 1/4. So last class, really quick, I just want to clarify. One student asked, can't I just stop here and set these equal to 0 once I simplified? Yes, you can. But let's just say they asked for a factor. You have to slide and divide in order to get your factors. Now if they just asked, okay, find the possible zeros, what do I have? For all means, you could set this equal to 0 and solve it. Okay, but if they ask you for a factor, you have to slide and divide to get that factor. So it's in your best interest to slide and divide it and then solve it out depending on what they're asking. So in the end, what are my answers? We had -5, we have -3 over 2, and we have a 4th. So these are my 3 answers, and again I have a 3 right here. So that's showing me that I need 3 answers, which I have 1, 2, and 3. All right, going ahead and going to 5. So following the same steps we just did. First thing I have to do is write the factors of my last term over the factors of my leading coefficient. So factors of 2 over factors of 6. Keep in mind, all my answers are going to be positive, negative. What are my factors of 2? Just 1 and 2. What are my factors of 6? 1, 2, 3, and 6. Good. Okay, so that's the first step. I wrote my factors out. Now I'm going to write out all my possible answers. Not my answers, all my possible roots. Okay, all the possibilities that I could have. So what do I have? I'm going to write it over here. I have 1 over 1, which I'm going to put 1. 2 over 1, which I'm just going to put 2. And that was for my 1s. Okay, these were for my 1s. Let's go ahead and do my 2s. Okay, I'm going to have 1 over 2, 2 over 2. Okay, now doing my 3's, I'm going to have 1 over 3, 2 over 3, and then lastly my 6. I'm going to have 1 over 6 and 2 over 6. Can I simplify anything here?
Yeah.
What can I simplify?
2 over 6.
Okay, I can simplify my 2 over 6, and what does that simplify to? 1 over 3, but isn't that already there? Yeah, so I'm just going to go ahead and erase it because I really don't need it. Okay, what else could I simplify? 2 over 2, what does 2 over 2 equal? 1, I already have 1, so I'm just going to go ahead and erase it. So now, looking at it, I have less numbers to work with. Keep in mind, all of these are positive negatives. And let's go ahead and see which one works. Keep in mind, you are using synthetic division to solve these. So going ahead and using 1 first. Okay, 1 goes up in my box, and then I'm using my coefficient. All right, really quick, before we do this, how many answers am I going to have? How many? How many answers am I going to have? 4. I'm going to have 4 answers because it's my highest degree. Okay, so I know I'm going to have 4 answers. So let's go ahead and get started with this one. You're taking all your coefficients. I have 6, 7, negative 12, negative 3, and 2. Okay, we should know how to do synthetic division. So bring that 6 down. 1 times 6 is 6. I'm going to get 13. Subtract, I'm going to get 1. I'm going to end up with negative 2. Is 1 a possible answer? Is 1 an answer? Yes. How do I know 1 is one of my answers? Because it has a remainder of 0. Good. So this is an answer, yes, because it has a remainder of 0. And I'm going to go ahead and write out that quotient. So if I started with x fourth, I'm going to have x to the third, x squared, x. Could we factor this? No, I can't do grouping. I can't do any of that. This cannot be factored. So going ahead to the next thing. Looking at it. Now what am I going to do next if it can't be factored? What you're going to do, I need you guys to pay attention to this, is I'm still going to use, I'm going to go ahead and use what I have left over. So 6, 13, 1, and negative 2. That's going to become the new coefficients that I'm using in synthetic division. So it's going to look something like this. I have 6, 13, 1, negative 2. And I'm going to go ahead and use negative 1 in my box. We already know 1 is an answer. Okay, so 1 is a possible answer. And let me go ahead and let's go ahead and solve this one. So again, using synthetic division. All right, going ahead and bringing that 6 down. Negative 1 times 6 is negative 6. I'm going to get 7, negative 7. I'm going to get negative 6, and then this isn't going to work. Okay, so this does not work. So again, going ahead, trial and error. I'm done with my 1s. Let's go ahead and go to 2. So I have 2 in my box. Again, what numbers am I using? The new ones. I have 6, 13, 1, and negative 2. And that's what I'm using for my synthetic division. Going ahead and dropping the 6, I'm going to get 12. I'm going to end up with 25. I'm going to get 50. This one I know is not going to work because that's way too large and it's not going to happen. So I'm not using 2. Let's go ahead and try negative 2. Again, I'm using 6, 13, 1, negative 2. Bring that 6 down. I'm going to get negative 12, which gives me a positive 1. I'm going to get negative 2, which gives me negative 1. Positive 2, and that gives me 0 as a remainder. Is negative 2 a possible answer? Yes, negative 2 is one of my answers. Because I have a remainder. Now I'm going to go ahead and take this, and now let's determine, can I factor it? I have x squared and x. Can I factor this? Yes, so I'm going to go ahead and write it at the side just so it looks a little neater. I have 6x squared plus x minus 1. Okay, set it equal to 0. I'm trying to solve for x. So now I'm going to go ahead and multiply. 6 times negative 1 gives me negative 6. What multiplies to give me negative 6 but adds to give me 1? What multiplies negative 6 but... Say it again? Good, it'll be 3 and negative 2. Good. So going ahead and writing my parentheses, I'm going to have x plus 3 and x minus 2. Don't forget you have to slide and divide because you have that 6. Okay, so simplifying this, I'm going to get 1 over 2. Slide that 2. Simplifying this, I'm going to get 1 over 3. Slide that 3. So right now I have 2x plus 1 and 3x minus 1. All right, I'm going to show you both ways. If the question asked to write the factors, this would be a factor. Okay, these would both be factors of what I had. But let's just say they're asking to find the zeros. I'm going to show you an easy way to do this if it asks you to find the zeros. If I get here, x plus, I simplified it, I could solve it right now. Okay, meaning I have x plus 1/2 equals 0, x minus 1/3 equals 0. I'll get x equals negative 1/2 and x equals positive 1/3. These would be my zeros, but this is not a factor. Okay, that's something that you need to understand. These are factors. Okay, so if you're solving it, let's just say I want to get it done, and you solved it this way for the factors, that would be incorrect. These are not factors. But I'm still going to get the same answer for my zeros. I'm going to show you. Solving it out, I have 2x plus 1 equals 0, 3x minus 1 equals 0. Subtract 1 from both sides. 2x equals negative 1, divide by 2. X equals 1/2. And same thing here. I'm still going to get the same answer. This should actually be negative 1/2. Okay, and again, these are part of my answers. I'm going to go ahead and write them up here. What do I have? I have positive 1. I have negative 2, so x equals positive 1, negative 2, negative 1/2, and a positive 1/3. These would be my answers. And again, I have 4. Okay, so please check your work on these. All right, going ahead to number 6. Okay, looking at number 6, again, we're doing the same thing. First thing I have to do is write out those possible roots. So I'm going to have factors of 5. What are my factors of 5? 1 and 5, that one's a pretty easy one. And then what are my factors of 1? 1. Okay, writing it out. What am I going to have? All I'm really going to have is positive, negative, 1 and 5. So those are my only possible answers here. Okay, positive, negative, 1 and 5. That's 4. So this one should not take us a long time. So going ahead and looking at it, I'm going to use 1 first. 1 inside my box. I'm going to have 1 4. Am I missing x? Yes. So don't forget to keep that place. 0 and negative 5. If you're forgetting that 0, your answer is going to be incorrect. So please do not forget it. Okay, going ahead, I'm going to have 1. 1 times 1 is 1. I'm going to get 5. 5 times 1 is 5. Still going to get 5. And then my remainder 0. Is this a factor? Yes, it is. Again, I'm going to have 3 answers. This is one of them. Can I factor this? Okay, let's see. Writing it out definitely helps. I'm going to have 1x squared, or just write x squared. You don't have to write that 1 there. X squared plus 5x plus 5. Okay, can I factor this? No, but what could I use? Quadratic formula. Okay, so remember, you could also use the quadratic formula. So I'm going to go ahead and use the quadratic formula for this one. Okay, and we have to remember it. X equals negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So I have x equals negative b, which is 5, plus minus square root b squared, which is 5 squared, minus 4a times c all over 2a. Okay, solving this out, I'm going to have negative 5 plus minus the square root of 25 minus 4 times 5 is going to give me 20. Okay, over 2. I'm going to end up with negative 5 plus minus square root of 5 over 2. Can I simplify anything here? No, I cannot. How many answers is this? 2. Okay, because I have that plus minus right here, I have 2 answers. So do I have 3 answers in total? Yes, I do. I'm going to go ahead and write them out. My answers are, I have x equals 1 and x equals negative 5 plus minus square root 5 over 2. Okay, I have 1, and this gives me 2 answers. So 3 answers in total. All right, number 7, same thing. First, I'm going to go ahead and write out my possible roots. So, what are my factors of my last one? Super easy. I have 1 and 3. Factors of my first one is just 1. So, what are the possibilities? Positive, negative, 1, and 3. So, there's 4. Same thing as the previous question. Going ahead and using 1 first. I'm going to have 1. Don't forget that 0, because I don't have x squared, 2 and negative 3. Please do not forget those zeros. Bringing that 1 down. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 plus 0 is 1. 1 times 1 is 1. 2 plus 1 is 3. Okay, this gives me a remainder of 0. So is this one of my possible answers? Yes, it is. Okay, this is a possible answer, and I have 3, so I'm missing 2 more. I'm now going to have x squared and x. We can factor this. What do I have? I have x squared plus x plus 3. I'm going to go ahead and use the quadratic formula. So same thing we did before. Using my quadratic formula, I'm going to have negative b plus minus square root b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Okay, so small numbers here. Very small numbers. I'm going to have negative 1 plus minus 1 minus 12. Don't forget that square root over 2. And I'm going to end up with negative 1 plus minus square root of negative 11 over 2. Can I have that negative inside my square root? No. What do I have to do with it? Put an I. So I'm now going to have negative 1 plus minus I square root 11 over 2. And again, this is giving me 2 answers. So my answers for this question is going to be x equals 1 and x equals negative 1 plus minus I square root 11 over 2.